all-knowing and all-powerful, starting with the elderly wolf uncle. Chapter 27. Coulson listened to the report, leaned over and flipped through the clothes of a corpse, found a certificate of work for SHIELD, and furrowed his brows deeper. Stop the mission first and close the team. He set his eyes on the crossbone Rumlow's corpse, and detected magnetic field fluctuations through the technique just now, and it seemed that Rumlow and Xianxia's group had collided. Coulson also wondered why the other party had come to carry out this task. After thinking about it, he dialed Nick Fury's call. Boss, Rumlow is in front of me and has been in contact with the mission subject. Quote, the contingent of dozens of people, including himself, was completely destroyed. On the other end of the phone, Nick Fury was silent for a moment, then said, it seems that the strength of that yellow-skinned boy is stronger than we imagined. You guys come back first, I need to be ready. After a pause, he added, Rumlow's matter, come back. Time passes. Soon approaching the evening, the sun was like blood in the sky, and the clouds were surging. The sun gradually intersects with the distant mountains. Xianxian drove the pickup truck through the dense woods, the bright red afterglow fell on his face, and the silhouette of New York City finally appeared in everyone's field of vision. Looking at the sky, the buildings are stacked one after another, outlining a staggered and continuous line. At the end of the horizon, a huge silhouette is reflected. A city considered the heart of the country, close at hand. Xianxian in the driver's seat sat up slightly straight, his eyes showed complexity, and he knew what might happen in the future for the premise. He knew that New York was in the Marvel Universe. It is a special place where almost more than half of all the big events take place. Chapter 34. Xianxian's extremely ambitious idea, the first piece of the Empire's puzzle. At this time, it was getting closer and closer to New York City. Logan in the passenger seat. Howlett looked at the outline of the sky, which gradually became clearer, and his face reflected the afterglow of the residual sun showing strange emotions. Whether for Uncle Wolf or Professor Charles, New York City is also a special existence. Once they were in the city, and once had a college, which was their home. Only now it's all gone. Luo Zhen's pupils trembled slightly, and he was silent for a moment. Chen, let's go here. Entering the city will easily be discovered by others. Quote, Uncle Wolf, we are already targeted by people now, so we will still go into the city, and no one is willing to be a rat in the sewers. Xianxian just continued to drive forward, without the slightest intention of slowing down. In fact, since he came to the Marvel Universe to become a mutant, he already had an idea in his heart. After all, he can't always be tired of running. After all, it is not a long-term solution, and he prefers to live a peaceful life. Logan fell silent when he heard this, and slowly spoke for a long time. This is fate. Quote, in the past, he did not choose to fight, but the reality is so cruel, step by step to push the situation to the current appearance. Logan, your destiny has never been a lifetime of bloody battles, but in the end you will end up alone at sea. Xianxian turned his head slightly and said seriously, anyone can hope for everything they aspire to. As long as it is not the end of the world, then everything will continue tomorrow. At this moment, the distant sunset has been half submerged below the horizon, and the golden sunset sun softly spreads through the window to the car. Professor Charles, who was in the back seat, fell silent when he heard the teenager's words. He had fantasized countless times that he could do everything he could so that the children could sleep peacefully, gazing at the stars on the soft grass. Dreaming of the future so that they could hold the stars in their hands. This is a reason that has taken him on the heavy responsibility for decades. He had spent his whole life to give all mutants a home, only now everything is gone. Now I heard Xianxian's remarks. Professor Charles's cloudy eyes flickered slightly, and the elderly body Nessie once again lit the flame of hope. Chen, I support your idea. Mutants are not born to endure scorn, we should also have our hope. He spoke out in support of Xianxian's idea. On weekdays, Laura, who showed no interest in many things, also nodded with a serious face at this time. Pete also nodded. He was now full of fear of Xianxian and wanted to leave quickly. As for Wanda, she looked at Xianxian bathed in the sunset sun blankly. At the moment, she felt that the latter exuded some kind of inexplicable charm. Logan on the co-pilot, however, felt that everything was very absurd, and was silent for a long time, only saying this sentence, you will regret it. Logan, you made the right choice. Xianxian smiled when he heard this and stepped on the accelerator. The big pickup truck was driven by him and headed for New York City at a faster speed. And at this time, based on the idea of liking a peaceful life, he had a new idea to build a new country. Only war can bring peace to the race. It didn't take long for Xianxian and his party to arrive in New York City, which is full of high-rise buildings, and stayed in a hotel located in the Yellow area, close to Hell's Kitchen. Uncle Wolf used fake ID information to rent 2 suites for several people, one of which was for the Wanda Pitt siblings. As for the remaining set, it was left to Xianxian and others, and Uncle Wolf did this for the sake of safety. After all, there was a lesson from the X-24. As the night grew darker, everyone went to sleep one after another, only Xianxian's room was still lit. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, he overlooks the night view of New York City alone, and the lights illuminate the high-rise buildings and crisscrossing streets. Xianxian still has something to do, not to go to DC Gotham, but another thing. If I want to stay in the DC universe for a few more days in the future, I must handle things on the Marvel Universe side properly. He thought silently. The main problem on the side of the Marvel Universe is that the group has no stable foothold and needs to keep running. Every time Xianxian is left to go to the DC universe, he can't continue like this, and he can only go to the DC universe for a short time every time. And the restrictions are too big to do too many things. Moreover, since he had already planned to establish a country that belonged exclusively to mutants, then it is necessary to pick the first piece of the puzzle. At this time, the Avengers have not yet been created, and the xianxia organization is in chaos again, and now is the best time for him. Thinking about it, Chen Tian's gaze fell in the direction of the dim hell kitchen in the distance. I'll have a little problem in the next chapter. I'll have to take some time to revise it. Chapter 35. Underground Emperor Jinhei. Dirty Hell's Kitchen. The city that never sleeps in New York is far from as glamorous as it seems, and in Hell's Kitchen, which is close to the city center, it is famous for its slums and the breeding of many criminals or gangsters. Under the dark of the night that hung low like thick ink, Chen Tian walked between the dimly lit streets of Hell's Kitchen. Dirty, cold, pressing. The unconcealable stench of corruption and endless cursing scalded the homeless people everywhere sleeping on the floor, snoring in dilapidated tents. The more shiny the city, the more unsightly it hides in its shadows. As Chen Tian walked, he felt the huge class gap in the city, and felt in his heart that the city was simply not inferior to Gotham. It's just that New York City is obviously not rich in maniacs, but definitely in manic gangsters. Just as he was about to walk around a corner, Chen Tian's eyes narrowed slightly when he sensed hostility, his gaze froze, and his fist was withdrawn from his pocket. Swish! Sure enough, the next second, several black shadows suddenly rushed towards him, but he reacted extremely quickly and punched out, and the dull collision sound sounded one after another. Several people suddenly fell to the ground, curled up on the ground and groaned. Why did you do it to me? Chen Tian grimaced. The crime rate of this city can be said to be no lower than Gotham, and he has only gone far to catch 3. Moreover, if he had changed to someone else just now, the sneak attack would have been enough to sleep for one night. We want to borrow some gambling money from you. The wandering man covered his abdomen and was covered in sweat, and replied intermittently with strong pain. He looked at the yellow-skinned boy in front of him, who looked clearly not strong, and even had some slender arms, and his eyes were full of shock. Just now, he had the illusion of being hit hard by a mud truck, and even his whole body was torn like when he spoke. What a bunch of scum. A cold light flashed under Chen Tian's eyes, and he said coldly,